edition, the first edition of the pitch session, where we have asked people to potentially pitch their books. We've got an esteemed table in front of us of publishers who are also going to kind of give some feedback back to you. And then if there's an opportunity there, we're not certainly going to close any deals right now, but there will be opportunities for you to reach and talk to them afterwards. So we are going to go from Toni Weisskopf, probably the individual who's got the most experience related in our field.
She has top power.
From Baen Books, certainly a publishing company I hold in high esteem. And Toni, if you would speak a little bit to...
I will, but first I'm going to turn off my phone.
First note for next year, please turn off phones.
All right, there we go. I'm Toni Weisskopf. I'm the publisher of Baen Books. I've been publisher of Baen since Jim Baen, the founder, passed away in 2006. We publish science fiction and fantasy pretty much exclusively, although the occasional techno thriller or nonfiction piece that's related. We do ebooks, we do paper books, we are a traditional publisher, we are an independent publisher. We are proud of our storied history. We do publish some of the authors who are here at this convention, and look forward to hearing the pitches.
Woohoo!
So,
thank you. Can we close that door?
Yes,
Give some noise from outside.
Absolutely.
hi, I'm Chris Kennedy. I'm president of Chris Kennedy Publishing. Been around doing this as a publishing business for about 7 years now. We turn out about 70 books a year. Science fiction, specifically a lot of military, sci-fi, and fantasy.
Awesome.
Your turn.
I'm Rhett Bruno. I'm with 20Books. So we've been around for about 3 years now. We're science fiction, fantasy, very digitally focused. We do mostly ebook and audio. We publish around 200 books a year by now. That's it.
Hey everyone, I'm Dakota Krout. I am the owner and president of Mountain Press.
A little louder, Mr. Krout.
What? Alright, I'm Dakota Krout. I am the owner and president of Mountain Press. I am also an author myself, so I mean that is my main focus within my company, is author relationships and making sure that our authors are getting the most out of their publishing experiences as we can help them get. But it's true, so keep at it. So we do.
The rest of us do that too.
We do focus.
Just didn't mean to say.
But it matters enough to me. So we focus on progression fantasy. So it is lit RPG, game lit, and cultivation titles.
Very much appreciated. So we are now going to go into the audience. So the first row, has anyone who was approved by Craig? Okay, then we're going to start here. Can you tell us who you are, what your book is about, why you're desiring to pitch it, because you're kind of at an indie area, and then we're looking for a quick conversation going back and forth. Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Jen Mitchell. My book is, sorry. My book is Oscar Kern, Intergalactic Black Sheep. It is sci-fi with a side order of humor. It answers the question, what would happen if the fate of our universe rested in the hands of the one person that never fails to fail? To say that Oscar is your typical reluctant hero is kind of an understatement. Truth is, he's a fuck up. There's no nice way to say that. About 2 days ago, the biggest problem he had was figuring out how he was going to come up with the 10 grand he needed to keep his loan shark from busting his fingers. But when you're done with Oscar, a lot can happen in 48 hours, which is exactly how he found himself in the belly of a prison ship, attached to an alien that smells like rotted meat and lilacs and is whistling show tunes. He's working on scamming his way out of that prison ship so he can figure out who set him up for the murder, stop the intergalactic war it's promised to settle, and maybe even convince his father that he's not the screw up that he thinks he is.
Perfect. Okay. So from there, I'm going to start with Toni. We're going to start at that end, and then the next person will go from Dakota back this way. So Toni, when someone pitches you that idea and they're running through the halls, what kind of feedback would you go?
All right, first of all, I tell everybody, Chris included, that I never buy off a pitch. However, having said that, being able to present your work in a coherent fashion with a nice little tagline and a short, punchy description of your character and a short, punchy description of your story is invaluable. You're gonna need it for your marketing, you're gonna need it all the time. You're gonna need it, because you're never stopping marketing, right? You're marketing to the bellhop, you're marketing to the person you're sitting next to on the plane. I gave free books to my bellhop.
If you listen.
I know you all do, but yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not listening. So,
Don't try and out funny Tony.
the only thing that was missing from your pitch that I saw was how long it was. So is it a short story, is it a novel? If it's a novel, how many words?
Okay.
And for this kind of publishing pitch, I think we do want to do that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I thought it was a
Great.
very
No.
nice pitch. Yeah.
Thank you. In my mind, it is the first series in a multi-genre universe that I've been working on for years, so it's a significantly large book. I would think that in the 100 to 150,000 word range, as would be the other books within the series.
Okay.
I think the other thing that we'd want to know is it complete, or
It is
what,
not.
what stage of the writing journey is it at? So,
A lot of the world has been plotted out, but quite honestly, I kind of was looking to see whether the idea even had any validity to it. Is it something worth pursuing? And if it is, then that's the path I would go down to get it written quickly.
Sounds like fun.
yeah, and great job going first, because it's always hard to
Sure.
go
Yes.
first.
I
We're gonna have to keep rolling, 'cause we got a bunch to go to. Rhett, real fast.
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it. Like Tony said, it would, at that point, it would just be about the length of the book, what your plan is, and trying to figure out logistics of what it would cost to make, but the story, the character, everything was right there.
Thank you.
So it was really well done.
So, for me, I just have a couple quick questions. A couple quick questions. I don't normally speak very loudly. I have a very good microphone at home. So, question for you. So you say that you call this a series. Do you plan on this being a continuous series or a standalone within kind of a connected series?
I pictured this as a standalone within what I hope is a multi-genre shared universe at some point that contains.
No, nothing about that.
Nothing about that. Yeah, so, gotcha.
And with that, do you know what your plan for having it as a like the subcategories, the main categories, like what audience are you writing to?
This audience would be kind of more, I would think, a space opera, someone that enjoys humor, not particularly hard science fiction in this one, but definitely science fiction.
I'm gonna close this down at the moment. If you're in the back and hard of hearing, please help us, because we don't have any microphones that we can project, and I can say again and repeat what's going on. So going into the next one, if you would take it from here.
Okay, my name is David Reese.
Could you take off your mask so we can hear you?
Certainly. My name is David Reese, and my series, The Chronicles of Fidd, is, I have a speech, hold on just a moment. Is told from the perspective of a aging high-tech supervillain as he's drawn into conflict with heroes, other villains, and his own tortured conscience. And it's a story of grief, rage, guilt, and violence, family lost and family found, and hopefully a sense of humanity rediscovered. In the first book in the series, the titular villain, Dr. Fidd, is motivated to perform an investigation, and he uncovers a conspiracy so horrifying that even he is taken aback after 20 years of violence. And he is forced to make a difficult decision, which is how much is a lifelong villain, no, not lifelong, but a long-time villain willing to sacrifice in order to save the world he once sought to terrorize. And in the end, it may take a villain to save the world from those entrusted with the world's protection.
Nice. So we're gonna start back on this side. I appreciate that. Did y'all catch what was said back there? Excellent. Mr. Krout.
Okay, so just kind of things that for everyone's knowledge, things that I look. Oh, you're fine. Things that I look at for when I'm considering a pitch or hearing a pitch, right? So I look at to see if it's going to be a series or standalone. I look at kind of just overall positivity toward it. Like, do you like the book? Do you like the idea yourself, or is it something that you'll cast aside if someone else might not like it? And like kind of what your knowledge of your character, your plot is, your ability to present, and like. Kind of you know your own audience that you're writing to, and from everything that I could hear, that was spot on for all of it. Like you knew your stuff. You called it a series right away. You said that you really knew your character and what they were doing. You had a great ability to present, and superhero, supervillain genre and stuff. That it all came across for me. So that was great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Rhett, and
Yeah.
speak louder.
Yeah, I think my question, it is superhero, supervillain, right? Not just
Yes,
a
it
villain
is.
in a science fiction world. Okay, does
Mhm.
that become important?
It's a lot of his interactions are, I'm going to say, it's sort of genre savvy about the superhero genre. And the culture and the strangeness of a world where people put on costumes and beat each other up.
Okay.
But it's more of a psychological analysis, a deep dive into the mind of the type of character that is sort of the origin point of most superhero stories, which is the villain starts something and the heroes have to react. So I wanted to dive into where do these stories start, and that sort of really helped build the character for me.
Yeah, I think that sounds great. I would say beyond what he said, which I think you nailed the character, the world, you have to remember that is a niche genre. I say that as someone who's written and published a superhero book that did pretty well for the genre, and that pretty well is not going to be anything compared to like military cyber. Like that is a niche genre. I'm all for a villain-led book. I think that's interesting, but you know, you just have to go in eyes open, just like we would as a publisher. We've done a few superhero books. There's not a huge audience there to grab. It's not the same as TV and film, where that's the genre. Books haven't seemed to get to that point with superhero, but it is a genre that like, we love it and pursue unique things in it. But yeah, you just have to be honest with yourself a little bit about what you're after in a genre like that.
We like to say that you will be able to pay for McDonald's, but perhaps not Applebee's.
You seem to know the character very well. Status of the book.
The first 3 books in the series are already published and
Okay.
continue.
See, because that's very important, because if you have 3 books as a publisher, you can do a lot of different things that you can't do with one book that's almost finished.
Yeah, the first book is the first book is an award-winning book. It's sold 40,500 copies.
So it's already published?
Yes. Sorry.
Okay. See, now that's important to know
Yes,
too.
I wanted to say this is the first set was set as a trilogy, and so is the next set that I'm currently working on. The next
Okay,
set
so
is
which are you
not.
pitching us?
Well,
the first.
if you want to take the first 3, I'll let you have it. Well, a lot of it is honestly trying to learn from the process.
Okay.
And,
Yeah, yeah.
but-
Well,
Let's just pretend it's
yeah.
not published.
But also,
Right.
if
Okay.
I am looking, the truth is that while I've had some success with the first series, the truth is that I know that I don't have the business acumen to be a self-publisher. Definitely. I'm not okay. It's not that I'm bad at it. It's that there are things that a professional would hope would be able to help. So that's kind of why I'm trying to pitch, even though I've already published 3 books in this series, and this series is ongoing, and I was hoping to get assistance with that.
Thank you.
So, in a nutshell, you're looking for a publisher to take the next part of the series to the next level. So there's your elevator pitch there. I don't do supervillain stuff. We tried it back before George Martin did Game of Thrones. There was a little thing called Wild Cards.
I remember.
We tried them, didn't do well for our audience, so it's not something that we do. So immediately I said, nope, not for me, which is good because that's part of what a pitch does, right? Is it right? Is it wrong? So you identify the genre for me, and that was good. I thought that you had some good bits, but you didn't lead with your good bits. There was what you said, you're taking the supervillain, it may take a supervillain to save the world. There's your elevator pitch right there, not buried in the depths of it. When you talk about the plot, when you say what it is that you're trying to do, when you talk about it's a deep dive into blah 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 blah. I turned it off because of supervillains. I don't care. but that's the thing that makes your thing different. And what you led with was, I thought, pretty generic. And you want to emphasize, but once you've established the genre, you want to talk about what is unique about your thing that is in that genre. And I think you have it there, but you didn't lead with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one of the things that, in this case, Toni brought up that I really want to mention is that all of us up here as publishers have a fan base that loves certain type of stories. And all of us are trying different genres to see if we can get into them, but we also have a core audience. If you bring a book to us and you have studied our company and your book doesn't match our genre, really good chance we're not going to take it because we know we can't do anything with it, which isn't going to help you anyway. So you really don't wish to go to a company and say, hey, would you like my X book, if you know that we really aren't in it that much. So just something to take with you. So on the second row, yes, please.
Hi, my name is Jeffrey H. Haskell. I'm a superhero author. I've written 14 novels, but this isn't a superhero pitch, so you're good to go. It is a niche market. I self-published just fine. What's great is that I love Michael's titles. He has some of the best in the business. Dakota is my son's favorite author, instead of me, but also he's a fan. I already have 3 books with Rhett. I'm a huge fan of Chris, but I'm really
Why?
going to hit you. Because I read your first book and I love Max.
Okay.
Next are cool.
Fair enough.
I had grown up reading science fiction, as a lot of people have. Robert Heinlein, Isaac Asimov, Ender's Game, John Stickley's Armor. I joined the Army because of Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
And so when I started writing in my life, I wanted to write military science fiction more than anything in the whole world. And I got to do that because of Athon.
Okay.
And now I want to write the next step, where I want to write hard sci-fi space exploration with hope. So my story is about a captain who takes command of Earth's first warp ship. And the mission is to go to Alpha Centauri and see if there's a way for humans to colonize a planet. Unfortunately, not everybody wants us to go there. And so the ship is sabotaged. So our captain, Mac Valorant, has to travel and circumnavigate the galaxy in a warp ship designed to last for 2 years on a 30-year mission with a crew of international hand-picked specialists, and to see if they can survive, explore space, and also explore what it means to be alone in space with nothing but each other to rely on. I love George R.R. Martin's ability to write a great book. He is a brilliant author. He has captivated the world. I can't stand grimdark. No offense to anybody who loves grimdark. I've had enough grimdark in the real world to last me a lifetime. So my books are full of heroes who, though circumstances are against them, and sometimes people are against them, they strive to do the right thing, to lend a hand to humanity, and to do the very best to achieve their goals in the best way possible.
Thank you.
It's called Beyond the Farthest Star, and it would be awesome as a series or a standalone.
All right, and it just so happens that we start with Toni this time.
All right. Two things that I noticed. Obviously, you did the suck-up part of the pitch beautifully.
It's only
I think
it's
we all
true.
feel
He's
this
not
way.
only a handsome man, but a powerful man.
You're calling this hard SF, but if you're circumnavigating the galaxy in 30 years, this is not hard
Not in
SF.
30 years, in 100 years. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I see what you're saying. It's using the technology of the warp ship that's been theorized that would require all the power in the universe.
Right.
But I'm thinking in 100 or 200 years, that might be possible.
Well, so I think you misidentified the genre, right?
Right.
It could be great fun, but this is not hard SF.
Okay.
So that's one thing. You press my button on the good people doing good things, bad people do bad things. I love that. It's an absolutely kind of story that I like to see. I have never liked grimdark. I grew up in Brooklyn. I don't need grimdark. The one ding 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 that says maybe perhaps warning is the name of your hero, Mac Valorant. Reminds me too much of Dirk Pitt. Now, Dirk Pitt sold millions of copies, right? Tens of millions of copies. So, but if you, it is a little too obvious to me a hero name, right? Mac Valorant. So,
My wife is laughing because she
Did
says
you-
this
did you
about
say-
my names all the time.
You're so right. Listen to her. Yeah.
I'm never doubting you again, babe.
Yeah, maybe not about the mink coat, but yeah.
Not anything really.
Yeah. So.
And I'm super flexible, so I can change that. as
Well, that's not actually the point, right? That's what I want to see in that pitch is, ooh, this guy has a firm command of what it is that he's doing, and that makes me wonder. You don't want to make me wonder. However, it presses all my other buttons, so I would say if this were a pitch, yeah, absolutely send it to me. Why not?
I would.
So you would make it to the next one.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I
Thank you all.
appreciate that.
Not even care about the rest of it.
Well, no, actually, I was gonna say, I need to make sure I get to everybody, and since Toni was the kind of the focus, as we weren't.
Sorry, Michael.
Get out of here now.
So going back then, I know it's not Danielle, so yes, please, your turn. Now, you part of what Craig had, right?
I emailed Craig on the location and all that, and got here, so.
No.
No, there's a certain list, there's a certain Excel spreadsheet, and he was supposed to,
I didn't get, all I got was the Facebook thing, and I didn't know I had to do anything more.
okay, so let's, see me right afterwards, and I'll talk with you, okay? So unfortunately, I need to get through all of the ones that were in that, and then, we'll go from there. On this row right here, anyone else? Nope? And then I will get with you, I promise.
I'll be back.
Okay. On this row behind, is you are, please stand up.
Hi. Hi, my name is Brittany Hester, and I write science fiction and fantasy for young adults. So, when I started reading, I realized that there wasn't a lot of characters who looked like me in the mainstream world. Like, I would read books and I was like, yes, that's fantastic. I want to go on a journey. I want to have diverse characters who are fully formed, but I also want them to be diverse. And so when I decided to become a writer, I decided that would be my goal, was to create diverse, authentic characters in full worlds that you can just escape into. So that led me into thinking about what you would do if the future you're moving towards isn't the future you want. And that was the creation of this story. So in a dystopian society where the government chooses your spouse based on your joint genetic potential, there is no place for life. At the age of 17, citizens are told whether they will live out their life as a single or introduced to their designated spouse and coupled. For Ren, a 17-year-old biracial young woman with vitiligo, this wouldn't be a problem if she were single. But with high academic, physical, and genetic markers, it feels like there's no escape from the future she never wanted anyways. In an attempt to postpone her coupling, Ren enters the yearly chosen lottery, knowing that doing so could give her one more year of freedom. However, the last thing she expects is to actually be chosen. Now thrust into a house with 7 pre-selected men, Ren is forced to choose her own spouse while the whole country watches and the government dictates her choices. Will she have to face the future she's been trying to run away from her whole life? Or will an act of rebellion open the door for her to escape? And if she escapes, will it bring the government crumbling down? In book 1 of the Chosen trilogy, Ren must battle with the desires of her heart and the expectations of society. But the heart can be a fickle thing, and the road ahead can lead you to a destination you never expected.
All right, I appreciate it. Just to clarify, we're going to have to cut them a little short since that was a longer description. No, that's quite all right. From this perspective, it's light sci-fi, it sounds like? Okay, so Chris, you're predominantly hard sci-fi, aren't you?
No,
No?
but more of a military, that's probably not for me, for my readers. Great presentation, status of the book?
It's in development.
In development, okay. Did you see it, you said series?
Yeah, trilogy.
Okay.
All right.
I think that's a good presentation. I think that there is definitely a place for that. And there are gonna be a number of readers that want that. Unfortunately, they're just not mine. So I wish you the best of luck with it, because I think that sounds like a project worth doing.
Thank you.
Rhett?
I thought it was fantastic. I wrote a book that was very similar, so obviously I'm biased about a 17-year-old chosen to marry someone. You know, I personally love dystopia. It's a tough market. It's probably a market better fit for the big 4 right now, but you know, that's something that would be like a passion type of push, because that is a very tough market to break into. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was fantastic. It seems dark, which is what I like. I wouldn't like it if it was too romance focused, which is hard to tell from the pitch. But if that's sort of the side thing with the reality show angle, that's all stuff that is right on what I do. So yeah, I mean, beyond knowing what the page length, the word count, all that technical stuff, I thought it was perfect.
Yeah. It's definitely more on the darker side. Like, love isn't the focal point, it's just a vehicle that gets her there to ultimately do some great stuff later on in the trilogy, like taking down government.
Yeah, that sounds right up our alley.
Okay, Rhett? Good.
I think you hit every point, right? I think like everything I wanted to know about that series as a trailer, as an upfront thing, like the knowledge that I wanted, I got. I think you were really, really good at presenting. You really had a good grasp of the knowledge. I mean, it obviously matters to you. It's something that you clearly deeply care about. And you knew your genre, you knew your subcategories right away. You knew exactly how long it would be. If I did those genres, I would be at like handing you my card right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Right. No, so for me, it was
Right,
amazing.
as would I.
I think
Right.
pitch-wise, start with the story first,
Okay.
personal stuff after.
Okay.
Grab us with the story first, and then what makes it passionate for you. I think that would be better coming just at the end, but that's kind of personal case. I prefer to see like story pitch right up front.
Okay, so let me finish with Dakota real fast, and
Sure.
Tony, you shook your head for a second,
Yeah,
so I'm gonna get to you.
yeah, 2 points.
Okay, Dakota finished?
Yeah, I'm good.
Are you finished, Tony?
Yeah, I disagree. I think starting with the personal motivation gets to the part of the pitch that intrigues me, which is what is your story about, right? What are you trying to do with your novel? So I think leading with that is fine. I think you have a shorter elevator pitch in there that could be very useful, and that is something like The Bachelorette with political implications.
So I had that at the beginning,
Yeah.
and when I was practicing my pitch, it was 2 minutes, and I cut it.
Yeah.
And I was mad about it.
So there you go.
I knew this was a good thing.
Well, that's a good thing, but it means your gut's right. So you absolutely should go with your gut. I think these guys are right. I think the big trad companies are looking for diversity, both in authors and in characters, and I think you've got a really good chance for it. So.
A good tagline will help up front, like
Yeah.
one punchy sentence. That's what it is.
One other thing though, science fiction has had diverse characters for a very long time.
Yeah.
So that you may not want to lead with that line, but otherwise.
Love is a game. She doesn't want to play.
Oh.
That's the king.
All right, so,
Yeah.
thank you very much, Will, on this particular, thank you very much, you're up.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Eric Warren. I write sci-fi space opera. All right, so 10 species, 50 contestants. The fate of each race hangs in the balance. Ever since the dawn of the new era, intelligent beings from across the galaxy have come together to prove their worth, to leave their planets, and join the galactic community. Whenever signals from a given planet are detected, that planet is automatically entered into the contest, and as soon as 10 planets are found, the games begin. Enter Lena. Lena is troubled. She's living on the edge of society, has never wanted anything in her life, and she's had to resort to low-level crime just to make ends meet. But when she and 4 other random people from across the globe are abducted, she realized that her problems here on Earth were just a prelude of what's to come. It's called only the contest. And unless Lena and her 4 cohorts can come to pass trials set by aliens far more advanced than humans could ever hope to be, humanity will be wiped out in a snap. Up, down, top, bottom, strange and charm is a merging of Squid Game and Endgame in a galactic contest to determine the fate of humanity. Does our species have what it takes to make the cut, or will we be like so many others and who have played and lost?
Thank you. So we're gonna start with Dakota, you're up.
Okay.
Feels like that.
I have a couple notes. One of them is when your hands, right? So, because your pitch was good, so the way you were speaking though, it really kind of distracted from what you were actually trying to say. So like holding hands or holding something that might, just like for physical presentation purposes, might be something to look into. Do you write under a pen name?
No.
Okay, so I will say that I often see personal, like my stuff or anything, but I often see male authors who want to write female lead characters, and unless they're working with a co-author or something else, oftentimes they will get absolutely bombshelled in reviews because people will hop on there and they'll be like, hey.
Haven't had the problem.
Oh,
Okay,
well, yeah.
Common in literature,
Okay,
not
well,
especially in-
yeah, perhaps it's in my specific genres, but like
That's
people.
crazy.
I mean,
Doing
people-
things, you can
So
do
it is,
it.
but that's a real thing, I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
It's a real thing in RPG?
So I just something to
That is a
consider.
thing.
Look at that genre that you're
Yeah.
look at the genre you're looking at. See if that's like more of a common thing. Sometimes it just doesn't work out so well. It depends on the genre. Yeah. We have conversations like this all the time. Hey, does this work for you? Because it just absolutely just wrecks. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
but
saying?
that one, I just totally missed that one.
Okay.
Okay, sorry for derailing everything, it's just news to me.
Okay. Yeah. So in general, I thought it was a really good pitch. Like you knew what you were going for. It was a little bit scattered, right? So if you had a nice cohesive start, middle, end, just kind of put together a synopsis of the book, here's the character, here's the reason to exist, and if they don't, here's the consequence, right? Just boom, boom, boom. And that would make for a much more punchy, hard-hitting pitch. Okay.
All right, thank you, Rhett.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with what he said at the end. I think as far as a reader and publisher, I prefer character focus, and I think the character side of it came in a little too late. I love reality show type stuff, game show type stuff, so I think, especially like you said, after Squid Game, that's a strong market. Starting with that sort of stuff as the tagline, again, I'll keep bringing up tagline. Usually when people sell to us, one sentence in, I know if I want it or not, if it's a good tagline. And Squid Game is hot. That's probably something you should say earlier on to kind of frame the rest of the pitch. Once I hear that, I'm like, okay, this is the type of competition it's going to be. But yeah, I would make the character a little more forefront in the pitch, because I'd say a lot of publishers, a lot of people like that character focusing, but again, that is a preference thing.
I had a guy sell me a book, he said, this is Star Wars meets Warhammer 40K. Bam, done, I'll take that. I hate to sound like a broken record, but status of book and potential for a series, what are you doing with that?
This book is an idea.
Okay.
I didn't come up with it until this contest started.
Okay, so not written, not,
No, but I imagine it would be a series set up as a trilogy. Each
okay, come
game-
take my card and send it to me when you get it. Make sure you reference this.
I feel like after that, whatever I say is pointless.
Because you're not gonna take him from me.
I'm not. But yeah, so yay, pitch worked. For me, I thought it was a little cloudy. I don't know if I would want to have started with the character necessarily, but when you were talking about saving a race, it wasn't clear to me. Are we talking alien races or human races? I didn't get it. But then you clarified the next sentence, but I shouldn't have to wait till the next sentence for that moment of clarity. Nitpick on the title. You're picking quark names for your titles, but there are more quarks than those now, and it's a kind of awkward title. It's cute, but I'm not sure that it's cute for your genre. So the people who know that these are quark names aren't necessarily going to be the people who are interested in this is a game show where humanity is on the line necessarily. So maybe rethink the title. Yeah.
Fair enough. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
All right.
Yes, thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Dee Huffman, and this is an honor, just so you know. This is awesome. My book is entitled Zayn the Prophecy, Part 1. It's a trilogy, and my tagline would be, what happens when even gods can't be trusted? It started as an epic high fantasy as I was investigating exactly what that meant. Because I started with the originals who sent out the seed of life and create galaxies and universes, and then they set up a council to run things because there are life forms on different planets in different places. The first one is the Abi, which would be known as the Aboriginals. The next would be the Navi, which would be natives, and the third would be Ra. And these three tribes determine what happens, how we live our lives, how we keep ourselves safe. And that's one of my main themes, that as we developed, we always go to the worst or baser side of our nature. So they have decided to create a group called the Ma Warriors. They're given their own planetary base, and they supervise. And they are able to use a special type of transportation system to come in at different times where they can see that if you go back to this time, we can stop this from happening that led to the destruction of whatever society, whichever group that it is. The first Ma Warrior that I talk about is, we're going to assume, might be the one who fulfills the prophecy. She's an African American. In my mind, she has a touch of Predator without the face, but she's in military attire, and she doesn't know who she is, and she doesn't know this is what she does, that she goes around to these different universes, and she goes to battle in whatever way is necessary to save them from themselves. So my story starts with her just talking about losing time, living in New York, And throughout her life, she has lost time. But when she comes back to her time, she, nothing is out of place. Nobody says, oh, you didn't show up for work, or you didn't go to school, you didn't do this. And as we go into the story, we talk about, she's actually not out of time. She's actually going and doing battle, and you see her transform from her human form into this battle gear, and you see the different wars and the different other life forms that she's fighting for. So in the 3 stories, I talk about the war against the mob, because at some point we always want to rise up against who we feel is our oppressor, even though they're not really the oppressor. I have the aboves and the belows are people who have lost in battles before, and now in the second book they're conspiring to destroy the mob and destroy the whole, you know, the whole society that's
I
been set up.
apologize, but we really gotta cut it.
So that,
So are we good there? I apologize. But-
no.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm gonna go with Chris first and
I'd like to go not first on this one.
Rhett, you're up.
Yeah, first of all, I would avoid the name Navi, just because of Avatar. That might take people out of the story, because it's such a famous alien name. Immediately they'll see that, they'll think the blue aliens from Avatar. That's just a little thing. As far as Vidge, I think you need to really work to condense it. It's just a little long. I'm having a hard time following what the character, what her plight is, like what her story is going to be in it. There's just too much of the plot and world building for a pitch, where for me, I like to refine that down to the view through the character's eyes, what she's going, what her plight is, sort of the essence of the story. And as we read it, we'll find the world building out, we'll find all that stuff. But you know, maybe some comparisons of what it's like, a tagline to really help you get it fast. But yeah, just overall condensing it into some more digestible package, because it's a little hard to follow. I would focus on a pitch through the character's eyes and tell it that way, because that's going to help us understand it really quickly.
Thank you.
Yeah, so kind of building on that. So, okay, kind of building on that. I did not realize that the story that you were pitching was about the woman who goes off and fights until the very end, right? So you were talking about, you know, the world building, the tribes, you know, the 3 tribes that control things, the mob warriors, and I was like, hey, that's kind of cool, you know, like these 3 evil overlords that control the universe, right? Like, oh, it's pretty neat. And then it changed, you know, at the end to what the books would actually be about. So my question on this is kind of like what Chris would do. Where is this in the actual development process?
I thought I was near the end, because I'm at, you know, 60 to 70,000 words, and as I've been investigating, I really need to be closer to like 120. So I'm in the middle.
Gotcha.
And about how long does it take you to write the next 70,000 as a follow-up?
2 or 3 months.
Okay. All right, that gives us a really good indication of just speed. Sometimes 6, the answer could be 5 years. Like the first. So a little bit concerned there.
The reason I didn't want to go first was I was looking for a nice way to say a couple things. I liked where you were at the start. I was like, oh wow, that's kind of engaging, okay. And then you rambled off to something else, and it became a completely different story than what I thought you started out with. And I kind of got lost along the way. You know, so it needs to be pared down. When you're pitching a book, you're pitching a book. You started talking about the second book and getting over into other things. You know, focus it on that one book and say, yes, there's a potential for a series or however you want to do that. But you're selling one book, because you may only get one book. You know, if you can't do that one book, we don't care about 2 and 3.
All right, so I'm going to have to, I apologize, Tony, but
I'm sorry.
You got it real fast?
No, I agree with what these guys said too. I did think, I like leading with the theme. I thought you didn't have a good tagline at the beginning. I agree that the world building sounds really fascinating, but is not part of the pitch. You start with the pitch with the girl in New York, and then a very short plot. The other thing that confused me a little bit is you were talking about exploring what epic high fantasy is, and again, I love that. But this turns out to be science fiction. So you might just want to say, exploring epic high fantasy, and it led me into science fiction. Just, you know.
Right, I thought I was getting a fantasy book,
Right.
but then it,
Right. But that's about your journey as a writer, which is cool, and we love that. I, as a science fiction person, love that. So you can say I'm exploring what high fantasy is, and it took me to this science fiction world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, yes?
Hi, yeah, yeah.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm RJ Johnson. Thank you so much for joining us here today and listening to our pitches. I really appreciate that. I'm here today to talk to you about my first book in a series called The Pillars of Gods. It's a first draft. It's 76,000 words. I have similar works as, and I hope you don't mind if I refer to my notes here. Similar works, what I like to call it is the Odyssey, Homer's The Odyssey meets The Expanse. And the slug line that I like to go with is a journey of 1,000 light years begins with a single betrayal. So we begin in 2345, where humanity has expanded far beyond our solar system. But as these colonies become more self-sufficient, political grudges break out, and a devastating war, is being fought between the homeworld and these colonies. We join our main character, Matthias Hunter, at the end of this war, and at the final battle in the Dardan system. Everything's going great. He's ready to go home. The fleet's ready to go home. But as they are ready to make that final jump, a saboteur messes with the navigation system and sends them off into the great unknown. So now, Captain Tripp and the rest of his crew have to make their way back. And that means fighting aliens, avoiding space hazards, a bunch of fun adventures, as you can imagine. Also in the book, I have Tripp's wife, Alexandria, who's a senator on the homeworld and works to discover, is it quicker?
Yes.
Okay, I'm trying. Who finds out the real reason behind the war and is working to bring down the corrupt government that she's been sworn to protect. I see this as a series either of 3 or 5 books, depending on the story, because as you know, stories can get out of control, and then all of a sudden you've got a ton of stuff.
But it never happens again.
Sure.
I think David Weber has mentioned this is how he actually did stuff.
And then just a little bit more about myself. I'm the author of 4 books, most recently Dreamslinger with Babylon Books.
Thank you very much. All right, so I'm going to get 2 of you. Do any particular ones want to come, or I'm just going to randomly choose you? Rhett, you said no, so you're up.
I read no as you can choose whoever you want. Yeah, so the first thing I would say is for everything you said, 76,000 words sounds pretty short. It's pretty short in that market especially. I think the title, the indie market, screams fantasy. Again, we're in the indie market, we're really data based, and that's great. I'd see that, and I think fantasy, if I saw spatial on the cover, I'd be a little confused.
I was thinking of the Pillars of Creation versus, that's what I was
I think
saying.
in science, simple title, at least in our market, it's probably different with Baen.
No.
Maybe the same is better, especially in science fiction. I would say in your pitch, you had me with the first character. The second stuff, leave that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It was condensed, it was easy to follow, and then the second thing, it just went on too long. So I would focus on that story. That's the interesting part of it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, if you'd have cut it right there before you got into the wife, you'd have been good. Yes, it is a little thin. Typically about 2/3 of our royalties come from page reads, and you're pretty thin on.
Okay, so real quick, that's a great question. Baen is completely wide, but within Kindle Unlimited, what size do you guys try to go for?
110,000.
110?
110, 120 areas.
110?
100 plus or minus.
Okay,
10.
6 figures. All right, thank you very much, JR. Next in this row, the blue. I apologize for pushing everyone along, and if I miss anybody, I will make something up for you really quick.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm Rhett Monk, talking about Dragons vs. Drones, epic sci-fi fantasy series. Book 1, Book 2, and the Reader Magnet novella are written and are in the editing process, so they could still be adjusted a little bit if you would like. We've got outlines for 6 or more books, but with a hook like Dragons vs. Drones, I could milk this cow for a long time. The robot drone army is laying waste and killing everything that breathes. Most of the humans are now cave-dwelling weremoles, and the few real humans that are left are being hunted down by both the machine army and all of the other races for being responsible for this apocalypse. There's a lot of action and battles between dragons, drones, robots, elves, dwarves, humans, and weremoles, but it's really a character-driven story about a spunky young dragon, a lonely elf prince, and a beautiful human warrior who uses armor that she has scrounged from dead robot parts to protect her identity and her heart. I'm also, a little about me, I'm a screenwriter and movie director, and I've got movies that are on Amazon and in distribution. I understand writing to market, I understand writing to keywords, and I run my writing career like a business.
Thank you very much. That was
Nice.
Nice. All right. Dakota,
Sure,
and then
so
Tony.
I had a card up for you like halfway through. So even if it's not something I can publish, I want to follow it, right? So it for me, I mean, you took this project and you clearly have good knowledge on it. You're passionate about it. You knew exactly where it was going, where you wanted it to be, where you wanted to start and end. And you didn't take yourself too seriously, and like you were pushing the humor aspect of it. You were like, you know, really taking the time to make sure that we got
Oh, we
what
are
the
done.
book is
Yeah,
really about.
fast.
So, I loved the pitch, is what I'm saying.
Okay, how many do you have?
Berserkers, have you read the Berserkers, Fred Saberhagen?
I've not.
Yeah, you should.
But
Just to make sure you're not, you know, that
Too
you're,
close?
well, no, it's not, because it's a fantasy take on it, but you need to make sure that you're, that you understand what's gone before, so you can differentiate and make yours, you know, stand out in the market, yeah.
Who have we missed? All right, Palace 7, LMBPN. I'll follow any of the panel if you'd like to join me on there to help. We're going to be right over here to make sure that everybody gets their chance. Thank you for the first time
One of the
that we
things,
did it.
don't show me your first draft, I don't want to see your damn first draft cover.
that's all I've got right now.